think we got everybody. Let me see. Let me close this door.
Hi, Stephen.
Hey, hey, Sveta.
Hi.
Hi, Sveta. Is it Sveta or Sveta? Whoops.
I don't think she's on here yet, is she?
Yep.
Oh, she is. I see her.
Hi, Sveta.
Hey guys,
Hey. So how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you guys?
Good. So we've got Lauren, Needy, and Daphne. They're all three first year in the business. So I want to introduce Sveta, who is a loan officer up in Anchorage. Is it Anchorage?
It is Anchorage, Alaska.
Anchorage, Alaska. So it's a little bit different market. What is your average price there?
About 375.
Okay, so not too much different. And then Sveta has been a huge success right from the word go. She closed 19 million her first year in the business, and that was in 2019, really before the big refi boom. And then her business has just grown and grown since then. So the only question I have for you is, first, tell us a little bit about your business and then how you did it.
And I'm gonna put a couple of disclaimers. So I'm really not a great speaker at all. Like I get really, really shy. And so, I normally do not speak in front of people at all. So this is kind of, interesting to just kind of share what I've experienced. And what I was telling Stephen earlier this week, basically, I feel like I've had some really good things going for me, but I also had quite a few challenges going for me too. So one of the things that was really, really helpful to me is I started as a transaction coordinator years ago. And so I had quite a few realtors already knew, which was really, really helpful. But, some of the things that really, really worked against me was my husband was a realtor, first of all. And so there's a few realtors that specifically told me they don't want to do business with me. And that was kind of hard to, get some rejection there. The other challenge that I had is because I was really shy to begin with, I would actually physically break out in hives if I had to call somebody I did not know. And so that was kind of really difficult for me too. I feel like the third challenge I had is, I'm from a really, really tiny market. So Anchorage has a population of maybe 400,000 people. And then Alaska itself has about 700,000 people. And so usually in most counties alone that you guys are in have over 1 million people. And so your guys just have so many more opportunities. It's just awesome. So I felt like, I tried to use, just the fact that I knew a few realtors to my advantage, because I knew I couldn't call somebody. I knew I couldn't physically, call just somebody I did not know. And so what I did is start with people I knew. And so I was required my first year to take out 2 realtors out to lunch every single week. And so I thought that was huge.
Who made that requirement?
Yeah, so that was a requirement from my mentor that was mentoring me.
Okay.
And he knew it was going to be really difficult. But at the same time, if I knew if I would just meet more people, then I can get more referrals and I can get get started that way. And so I started with people I knew. And so that was really helpful. And so let's say, for example, you guys, if you bought a house recently before you got into mortgage, I'm sure you know a couple of realtors. So start with those people, start with people that you know, and see if they will send you some business, and talk about the company that you're with and, upsell the company. Just because a lot of times if you're brand new, it's kind of hard to, potentially talk about yourself. At least it was for me. So, at least tell the company and see if you can get some referrals that way. Once you're starting to get a few transactions under your belt, I would just, what I did specifically, because I knew I wanted to meet more realtors and I couldn't just call them up, especially people I did not know. So during the transaction, I was making friends with the listing agents the entire time. So every single milestone, I would physically pick up my phone and call them. And, sometimes it would go to voicemail, but what happened is those listing agents got to know me and how I do business. And, if you call a listing agent or even text them with every single milestone that happens during your transaction, like I bet you no other realtor or mortgage originator does that. And so they're immediately going to be like, oh, well, who is this person and why they're clearly doing something different. And so when you actually ask them out to lunch after the transaction, it makes it a lot easier because you're friends by now. They're not going to say no. And so I was trying to find ways how to make sure people don't, just say no to me, just because I, again, had that really huge anxiety that I couldn't talk to people unless I knew them. And so it just kind of snowballed from there. It seems like I feel like the first year is really the hardest, but once you get through your first year, everything else is really easy. Like the momentum just builds. And so like the more you know, the more people you know, the more people you do business, like the more just snowballs. Like I am to a point where I cannot keep up with the referrals that I have. And I'm still only licensed in Alaska, not any other, states or anything like that. So I'm in the process of building my team a little better just so I have a little bit more capacity. But first year was definitely the hardest, and I felt like the learning curve was so huge. But once you get through that, like I feel like it's just amazing. It's an amazing business to be in. The other, one of the things I also did is I started with affirmations every single morning. Just to like hype myself up that I can call people. That was just one of my personal challenges as I was really struggling with making calls. And so I would do some affirmations before I would make some calls. And I felt like, you hype yourself up. So therefore your conversations go better and then people like you more. I just kind of always helped on that. And then the third item, I feel like I just always, I always treated people the way they wanted to be treated. So let's say from like a listing agent perspective, what can I be doing? Let's say if I were a listing agent, what I want a mortgage person to be like, or the mortgage team to be like. And so I kind of always kept that in mind. Or like from a buyer's perspective, if they had a 5-star transaction, like what would that look like? And so I would, make sure that transaction was like that. So that way I can always ask for referrals. It seems like I've been growing about like 20 million a year, which is nice. And I still have not figured out how to do any marketing. Like it's all 100% referrals. And I just started doing marketing, but I don't think I'm being successful enough because I haven't actually generated any leads from that. But like referral, like if you can stick to referrals, that's amazing. I think the other thing is even during the refi boom, I always stayed 80% purchase. I only maybe touched about 20% of refinances. But it's because, and I wish I could have done more. The challenge is I never had my team structured enough to where they can actually handle that much business. And so I would only, submit into processing as much as I could handle and as much as my team would handle. So I would only focus on purchases. I almost kind of ignored refinances altogether. But I feel like that's about it.
So Sveta, I think what you're saying is, so in the beginning, you have time. And so you really rolled out the red carpet for your agents. You over communicated so that, it was just obvious that they're going to get terrific service if they use you.
Yeah.
So a couple of questions. So let's say that you were able to do a transaction and the listing agent was happy, and then you set up a lunch meeting or a coffee or something like that, I guess. So what went on in that meeting?
I tried to bring something of value to them without making it look like about me. Because one, I felt like I didn't have much experience, and so I didn't want to talk about myself at all. I was trying to bring them something of value, like a gift, and a lot of times it would be something like, and I'm sure you guys have it, but let's say like the purchase and sale agreements that realtors use here. On page 2, they have like check boxes, who pays for what fees. And so I'll bring in like a little cheat sheet that says, who pays for what fee standard, for like FHA, VA conventional loan. And not that they couldn't find it with any other lender, but usually some of those sheets were so outdated specifically, versus I specifically matched the latest contract, so that way it was easy for them to follow. I just tried to find something of value. And then I also tried to get to know them versus talk about myself. Like I always wanted to make sure like it was, people like to talk about themselves. And so I wanted to give them that opportunity to talk about their business and, what I can do to be of assistance instead of really making it about me. And eventually, they are going to ask more about you and the company. And that's kind of like, that's where you start talking about yourself. But, make it that meeting about them, just because, you're making friends with them. And so you want to get to know them and see what you can be doing to help them with and growing their business. The other thing actually I also did that was really helpful is I approach brand new realtors, because I felt like I was a brand new loan originator. And so if I go approach some brand new realtors, it was going to be a lot easier, because I felt like we're both newbies, and so we can make this work. And so there's and sometimes I do this now, I call some brand new realtors and I invite them to my office so we can learn more about mortgages, because they don't know anything. They don't know anything about FHA loans, conventional VAs, and not that they need to know a lot, but like it just helps them feel like they know their job better. And if you can empower them back, then they will want to, they're going to feel more confident about their job, and they can send referrals back to you.
I love that. So not only are you genuinely helping the new real estate agents, but you're setting yourself up to look like an authority and an advisor. And it really helps form that relationship. So my question is, so where did you find these new real estate agents? Did you join like a board of realtors there in Anchorage, or did you go to functions, or what did you do?
I was Facebook friends with a lot of realtors. Actually, I actually at one point hired a virtual assistant too, at a bunch of every single realtor in Anchorage there is, and not everybody accepted my friend's request. And I know those people now, but like 3 years ago, I didn't know half of them.
Right.
But it was interesting because, people are growing their teams and they're announcing new team members. And so then I would look up their contact information, call them and, invite them to a meeting. But I'm sure there's other sources too. I'm sure you can go to like a board of realtors and see, because they initiate realtors every month or, something like that. I was more doing it through like Facebook. Anytime I would see something like that, I would always like screenshot it, look up their contact information, give them a call.
That's a great idea. So Lauren, your husband is a real estate agent. Do you find any resistance?
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you, so how do you combat those agents who don't want to really do business with you? They don't want to send you referrals because they know that your husband is an agent. Are you, do you just kind of write them off, or is there something that you come back to them and say, like, how do you handle your referrals that come in if you're going to give them to other agents? Obviously I try to tell people like, look, my husband works in one area and you work in a different area, you have different types of clients, but how do you combat all that?
There's always going to be certain realtors who will just not do business with you. And I make peace with that, but I felt like that was only a very small portion of the market compared to there's so many realtors that, let's say, like know my husband. And, and I basically, I tried to make sure I preach what I would be telling people. So let's say if I ever got in a referral from, if I got in a referral from a realtor and then that buyer closed and they referred me business, then I'll be calling the same realtor and telling, hey, this mutual client of ours gave us a referral, let's close in two. And that just kind of helps reaffirm, the whole thing. So that way you're not sending leads back to your husband. In any way, I always told people like my husband does not need my leads at all.
Right.
He can go figure it out. He's got his own stuff, and I just, we happen to be married, but like, and sometimes we meet. And actually, it was kind of helpful because I felt like my husband really helped me get my foot in the door, because he did send me a few leads, and that helped me learn. And by learning a few deals, it kind of gave me a little bit more confidence to go do more deals. But let's say right now, I've only maybe done 2 transactions with my husband all year. Like I barely, and he now he started transitioning into like other things. And so he's doing less real estate, at least, just in the last few months. But like, I have so many other realtors that I work with. It's just, I don't necessarily care nor depend on what my husband does.
Right.
So just, yeah, so I would just say, just do like, show them that you really are, sending, let's say, leads back to whoever referred you. And I would emphasize that too. Just be like, well, like that lead stays with you. Like, it's not, you have that relationship with that client, they're always going to go back to you, and I will
Right.
always hype you up, not necessarily anybody else. And so I always, let's say, and just build relationships with those realtors. So let's say if their client, let's say, is trying to use a different realtor or so on, I would always give them a heads up, just be like, hey, I just randomly got a call from this other realtor. I don't know what's going on, but just want to make sure you knew.
Right.
Just always be upfront and honest.
Mhm.
So that's how I handle that one.
Awesome. Thank you.
So Nidhi, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. I don't.
So Daphne, anything to add?
Well, I think you took my question, which was how she was meeting new realtors, because I actually had a conversation with somebody the other day about like trying to find new realtors so that they didn't already have people that they were working with. So that was useful information for me.
And if they are working with other mortgage professionals, don't ever take that, like, don't ever feel like they're unavailable. Just because they're working with other mortgage people, and maybe they've been working together for a couple of years, but it doesn't mean that they're happy. It doesn't mean that you will not do a better job. So don't ever necessarily dismiss those people. I would just be like, hey, if you ever need a backup lender, if you ever need another opinion, like, I'm here, still make yourself available. Don't necessarily, cross them off in terms of like, hey, I'm not available again. Like, put yourself in a backup position, because at one point their realtor or their mortgage professional is going to be out on vacation or something like that. Like, at one point you're going to come in really helpful multiple times a year. And even if you can get, let's say, like even a 10th of their business, that's awesome. That's how you start, and that's how you start building more relationships. And then the more you can show that person specifically, how, let's say, different you are than the other mortgage person.
Great, great, really solid advice. Okay, well, if we don't have anything else for Sveta, thank you so much for joining us and giving us this useful information. I think what you've been able to accomplish in such a short time is really amazing. What are you on track to close this year?
I am shooting for 60 million this year. So I'm trying to make sure I grow 20 million a year. So my first year was almost 20 million. My second year was 40. So I want to finish up this year with 60. Yeah.
So I'm going to call you in 5 years and you're going to be at 140 million.
I mean, well, probably.
No, I think it's fabulous. I wasn't teasing you. I think it's fabulous.
I always struggle with how much business do I actually want to do. And I'm trying to get some of my hours back right now, just because I spent, working 14-hour days last year, and a lot of times this year too. And I'm just so exhausted. I want to go back to working 8 hours, but I want to at least maintain my business, especially, knowing what's going to happen with the rates next year or so on. I really want to have a solid team in place and like make sure my buyers are just wildly happy. And that's really all I want to do. Now, let's say maybe a year from now, I'll want to grow again, but I want to do it in the right way. Like, I want to make sure that everybody's being taken care of in such a really good, on a high level. I feel like the amount of, and start thinking that there's infinite amount of business out there. I feel like
it's an abundance mentality
to like tell yourself there's infinite amount of business. Like, I feel like it really truly becomes that way. I feel like the opportunities are just endless. The only limits are the ones you set on yourself. So if, and the other thing that my mentor that was really, really helpful that he helped me do is at one point, because he asked me how much money I want to make. And I kind of laughed, and I thought it was the most unrealistic goal, but like, I thought if I ever made $20,000 a month, like, I made it, and for some reason that was like the goal I had. And so my mentor looked at me and he was just like, oh, well, that's easy, which is funny because at that time, you know, I was just like, that is like the most difficult thing you can ever do. And so he's just like, let's just reverse engineer that. And so he's just like, well, this is how much you get paid, you know, basis points per deal. So let's see, this is how many, let's say, and that's how we came up with 2 realtors a month. I'm sorry, a week. Because I think there's maybe he wanted me to do 2 pre-qualifications a week or something like that. But like there's some numbers that he helped me engineer, reverse engineer to like help me get to that goal. And so my entire time, you know, I kept like telling myself, hey, as long as I make these activities, even though I like had really hard time calling those people, I'm gonna get to my goal. I'm gonna start making $20,000 a month. And that was a long time ago.
Well,
so it's just nice, like once you're actually there, like it's just amazing to see how much of a different mindset you have versus like I always thought it was so difficult versus now I'm like I don't even have to like wake up or make any calls and I can make that much a month. I don't even have to show up and like it's just going to happen. So again, first year is the hardest, just get through it, you know, keep doing like the hard activities and then like within a year or so you'll see it happen, like it all comes together and it's amazing.
Well, you are an inspiration to all of us. I wish you the best, Sveta, and thank you for your kindness and spending time with us today.
Oh, anytime. Okay.
Thank
Well, sounds
you.
good.
Anything I can do to help you, you let me know.
I appreciate it. Okay. Well, sounds good. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, so I think that Sveta was pretty amazing putting together such a strong business in such a short amount of time.
I mean, $60 million
It
in
certainly
3
took me
years.
a lot more years to accomplish that,
Whew.
so I hope I'm as good a mentor to you guys as she had. And I think that idea of trying to meet with 2 agents a week is definitely a good one. So let's get, I have some things that I need to go over. So I sent you a business plan, okay? And basically that's something that the company mandates so that you need to get that done. If you need help and guidance on that, I can help you a little bit, but I strongly suggest that you're on that conference call on the 9th. And Brian Lavelle, this is kind of his baby. He's a big believer in these business plans. So I would be on that call and he'll give you some guidance. Okay. Did anybody follow up with any of the agents from the event?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
All right,
I
go
called,
ahead, Nidhi.
yeah, I called Alicia like 3 times. I texted her too. I haven't emailed her, but I texted her too, and she hasn't replied. So I'm not sure what's going on. But I did talk to her and he liked the presentation and everything. And I'm already working with him. So he's all good. But Alicia was something I wanted to take forward.
Well, you know, it's not over and you never know what's going on in somebody's life. Maybe she's just busy or something. So Nidhi, let me just address one small thing. So are you holding your phone? Because it's kind, you know, it's kind of always
Yeah,
moving.
I am.
Okay, so get one of these on Amazon. It's like $9. And
Yeah,
then
I
you
have
can,
it in my car.
and you can
I'll
just
get
set it, or just use your notebook computer. Doesn't it have a little camera in it? Don't your notebook computers have a camera?
Mhm.
It has. It has.
And then it won't move around and it'll be easier for you.
Sure.
Okay, so
Do you have the video yet from
so
the?
I have all the videos. There's 3 separate videos, so I will send you the links to those. So
Okay.
you should have the PDFs for my presentation and for Steve Richmond's, and then I'll send you the 3 different videos. And you know, I'm not saying like send all this to everybody, but I mean, you know, for the people that missed it, that maybe you had register that didn't come, you can say, hey, would you like to you know, I'm so sorry that you missed it. Pretend like they had some family emergency and couldn't come. And you know, I do have the video if you'd like to see it, and then send them the video, and then, you know, a week later say, did you can't get a chance to see the video? What do you think? You know, whatever, just to force conversation along the way, and at the same time looking like you're trying to help them. Now, I have another business plan that I use with real estate agents. I'm going to try and get a real estate agent on the call next week to go over it. It's a very, very simple business plan. It basically has 3 questions on it. I mean, it asks for some details, but in general, it is, okay, how much business did you do this year? How much business do you want to do in 5 years? And then what do we need to do next year to get a step towards that 5-year goal? And then so that all of that is the first page. And then the second page just has some line items where you can ask them about their various marketing and social media or whatever. And then you can just make some suggestions. The thing is that, you know, you can present it as if you are guiding them, but all you're really doing is just having a conversation, and what you're doing is taking an interest in their business. Nobody else does that. Nobody else is going to ask the agent, and you can ask your husband this, you know, who actually took the time to ask him what your goals are, and, you know, can I help you achieve your goals? You know,
Yeah.
nobody does that.
No.
They're all just, you know, usually with
I was probably the only person who's ever asked him, and that was before I got into mortgages.
Well, yeah, because you're married, but
Yeah.
but yeah. So just, you know, taking an interest in any entrepreneur is going to be, I think, very much welcome. Okay, so I'm going to send that to you by email, but it is pretty simple. Okay. I already asked you, so y'all have the PDFs. I'm going to send you the videos. Okay, so I was talking to Daphne, and it got me thinking. She says, you know, can I send, she's working with a financial planner, can I send him something? And so we have these resources, and I used to do this all the time. And I stopped, and I think I'm going to start back up, but sending email newsletters is not such a bad idea. And I know that you're thinking, oh, you get a million emails and it's mostly spam and you delete most of them. You do. You delete most of them, and most of yours will get deleted. But that's okay, because it's so cheap and easy. And if you put out something, what I used to do is I sent one every other week. So every 2 weeks, I think, is a good frequency. I know that, you know, when you buy something in a store, like, you know, whatever, Banana Republic, they're going to send you, put you on their email thing. And I feel like once every 2 weeks, I can tolerate it. And the ones that try and send me something every day, I just immediately unsubscribe. It's just too much. So I have a couple of things. I sent Daphne a couple of examples, which I'll share with everybody. I have this company called Mortgage Pro that has a newsletter, and it comes with my name on it. But of course, before you send it out, you just take my name off and put your name, and boom, you have a newsletter. So then on the MBS Highway, his stuff is too detailed and financial for most people's tastes. So he does a newsletter, but it's like a college level finance course, and I think it's too much. But he also has a bunch of other things on the website. He has the Social Studio, which is about 3 sentences, and that I really like. And then he also has, I'm looking at my notes here, he has something called Social Share. And then he has a blog post, and the blog post is neat because it always has a graphic with it, which I think is important. So you can grab the graphic and then a portion of the blog post, and you're done. So between we have about 4 or 5 different things. And I think that you can use that to put together some sort of email newsletter. You can also sign up for a service like Constant Contact, which will keep track of all the email addresses and your unsubscribes and all that. And I believe that you can also do that through Top of Mind. What else? Does anybody know what Keeping Current Matters is? I know, Nidhi, you've used that before, right?
Mhm.
So, Nidhi, I think you're muted. Oh, there
Yes,
you're unmuted. Okay. Yeah. So, Keeping Current Matters is good because it's kind of dummies down all of the news, and it has a bunch of graphics, and it's just
and it's
keeping.
good. It's good. Like
Yeah,
I
it has
easily,
neat graphics.
yes.
And that you can use, I think is best for social media posts. Now, you don't want to only use Keeping Current Matters. That's going to be like your 1 out of your 4th post, or maybe you know 1 out of 5 posts, because it is interesting to see how real estate values have gone up, but just constantly putting out business stuff to me is not a good idea. But it's keepingcurrentmatters.com, and then the login, I believe, is just my email address and then KTeam123 with the K capitalized. Okay, so we talked last time about how powerful face-to-face events are. Well, just getting face-to-face with people, and of course, an event is easier. So who's gone to an event in the last 2 weeks besides the one we had? Lauren, what'd you do?
I did. I went to the one, it was at the rooftop bar, down like 15 minutes from my house.
Okay.
And it actually went, I had a ton of anxiety walking into it,
Okay.
but it actually went better than I expected. And I met, because it's so local to my house, I actually met 2 realtors that I follow on Facebook, who I've been commenting on their posts and everything. And they actually recognized me before I recognized them. And I got the opportunity to give them my business cards. And, that was like a huge success for me.
That is a huge success, and that's exactly how it works. So we talked before about making comments on realtor posts, and how easy is it to say, oh, that's a beautiful listing, or that I love that the middle school in that school district, or whatever. So that's so super easy. And then they see you and it's like, wait a minute, I think I know you, right? And then you start the conversation. And
the conversation was easier too, because they see what I'm posting on Facebook. So they already knew, hey, you have 3 kids and I have 3 kids. And the conversation was easier, which made me, I'm a lot like the girl who was speaking earlier. And if I get really anxious, like my chest starts to break out in hives. And so it just made it a lot easier to have a conversation with them.
But how easy is it to talk about your family and your kids and your schools and your favorite grocery store?
So much easier.
Yeah, I mean, that's so much easier than to talk about where rates are headed next month.
Right.
So,
yes.
yeah, so that's really how it is, and people do business with people they like, and that's how you get over that I'm new, they're not going to trust me.
Right.
Nidhi, you're smiling, what are you thinking?
I attended 3 events this week, and
Okay,
they were
how'd it go?
all community event related to Diwali that we have today. But I introduced myself. I met 7 realtors who are Indian realtors, and they
Okay.
live in my neighborhood. So I just talked about like what I do, not about mortgage, nothing about mortgage, but how I organize the event, how I'm helping people and everything. After the end of the conversation, they were like, okay, so what do you do? I'm like, I'm a loan officer. So they were like, oh, okay. So we can maybe work together. I'm like, sure, let's go out for lunch next week once this Diwali is over. And let's catch up. How can I help you, or where can I chip in and everything? And if you have any open house, I can come in. Like, I can come and help you with that. So they were impressed. So I am meeting 2 realtors next week and then the following week, because I'm going to Vegas also next week. So I have to keep it short. Yeah.
What did you say? You're going to Vegas next week?
Yes, next week. Yes, for 2 days.
For fun or for
For fun.
Okay, good, great. So so there again, and I think that that's terrific, and to strike up a conversation, and don't be afraid it sounds like you are kind of soft selling your business, which is good. But don't be afraid to take it completely offline and talk about your family and your kids and the schools and the whatever's going on, and that's okay too.
Right. No, so the event that I organized, it had close to 180 people. So everyone now knows what I
And
do.
you're in a festival right now,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
What's the name of the festival?
Diwali.
Diwali. And
Yes.
tell us, what that means. I'm not familiar with it.
So it's a festival of lights. We would light up our whole house. I'll put the
Okay.
tea light over my house. Everywhere you'll see the light and everything. And I have decorated my house with the garlands and everything.
Okay. So
Yeah.
holiday decorations, like who doesn't want to talk about that? You did what did you say? You put the lights on your front of your house?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you asked them, did they put lights on their house?
Yes.
What did they do? And then they
Yeah.
come up with some idea.
Now,
And
since
so-
I organized the event, so they were like, how do you have so many decorations? How did you do it with 180 people? So now they know me. So I think it's good for me. Yeah, it's good for my business.
Well, that's great. Well, it sounds like you're getting things kicked off. So Daphne, did you go to any events?
Yeah, I went to one last week. It was okay. I didn't make too many connections there, but I do have lunch tomorrow with somebody that was not lunch, coffee with somebody tomorrow that was supposed to come to our event. So we'll see how that goes.
Can you tell us any more? Who is the person? How do you know them? What?
No, the person that I'm going to coffee with is somebody that was registered for our event last week and that they didn't come to it.
Okay. Do you know them or?
I reached out to them with the list that you sent us to reach
Okay,
out to.
great. So can you give us a little bit of game plan for that event? For your meeting? So
I'm going to go in there and I'm going to basically talk about them and their business. And I'm not really going to try and bring up too much mortgage stuff unless they bring it up themselves.
great. Yeah, I think that's the proper strategy. And so you went to an event, but you said it wasn't too good?
Yeah, it wasn't too good. It's just, I keep like the ones in this area, like, I don't know what it is.
Tell us what the event was and why it wasn't good.
So I think it was because it was marketed towards like multifamily it was towards like investments
Okay.
instead of it being like real estate agents and all that stuff. I was like, oh, well, maybe an investment one, somebody might be there, but it wasn't that great.
I understand. Yeah, the people that are doing like those big multi-unit projects is really out of our scope.
Yeah.
So are any of y'all looking on Eventbrite for events? Because there's a bunch of them around.
Yeah, I was gonna try to go to that the real estate connections one that's tonight at Local Luna.
Yeah,
Apparently they have a really big turnout. But
they
I have
do.
I have a kid who came home sick from school, so I don't know if I'm gonna make it tonight. But I did see that they try to do those once a month.
They do.
I know that they cost.
They do.
I think that
They do them once a month, twice a month. One in Kennesaw and one downtown.
Oh, okay.
Or Buckhead.
Yeah.
So I think one's the first Thursday and one's the second Thursday, but you can get on their email broadcast. It's called just Real Estate Connections.
Uh-huh.
So they have a Facebook page.
I follow all their stuff now, so I should be up to date with everything they have going on.
Yeah. And Nidhi, also don't be afraid to go to a non-Indian realtor event.
Sure.
Seriously. I mean, anyway.
No, my plan now is to I'm making a target for myself to meet one realtor, maybe new or old, in a week for a lunch.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, you heard from Sveta, she met with two a
Yes.
week.
So that's why, that's
she's
how I
doing
make my
$60 million.
target. At least one has to be done.
Okay. So, so do you remember at our event, Jason Frazier? was
Yeah.
talking about social media posts. Does anybody remember him?
Yes.
Tell me something that you remember.
Well, that he's been doing this in the industry for, he said, over 20 years.
Right. So what is his advice when it comes to social media?
To do it like consistently and not, and so you can grow your audience, because if you're inconsistent, then it's not gonna take off and people, so that's what I took from it.
Consistency, right, was one of his points. What was another point? So what was he talking about when it comes to messaging? Okay, so what he really hammered home was that you have to really look through the eyes of your audience. So first you build the audience, which I hope that everybody in the next meeting, I'm going to go through those tallies that Joyce did, and we're going to see how many people you've added to your social media. But his advice was to look through the eyes of your audience. What do they want to know about? You know, do they want to know how to get tickets to the Braves parade? Hey, who's going to the parade tomorrow? Nobody? Well, it's supposedly 1 million people. So anyway, so maybe, you know, your audience wants to know where the heck they're going to park, right? So maybe your audience wants to know what his example was, the 10 restaurants that kids eat free, right? If you have kids, who wouldn't want to know the places that the kids eat free? Or, you know, so that's part of that jab, jab, jab hook. So those are the jabs, the three, you know, the 3 jabs where you give them useful information about where to eat, where to park, and what to do in the community. And then the 4th one is, and hey, if you're thinking about buying or refinancing your home, please think of me. You know, and they'll be, and then their mind, they're going, sure, oh yeah, so Nidhi has been so kind and helpful. Why wouldn't she be helpful if I need a mortgage, right? Makes sense. So so do you, now that I've repeated it, do you kind of remember that message?
Yeah.
Okay. One other thing to think about is, and this is great, once you meet an agent and you can discuss this at your meeting, is I think that we're ready to get back to having little get-togethers. And I had success early in my career doing first-time home buyer meetings. And we have a presentation that we have a couple different presentations that I can give you that are pretty much ready to go with a few tweaks that you can give a group of first-time home buyers. And right now, you know, the education level amongst young people about buying a home is terrible. They're either getting wrong information, misinformation, or no information. So if you were to survey, if I were to grab 100 25-year-olds and ask them, how much of a down payment do you need to buy a house? I bet you that a very small percentage would know they could buy a home with 3% down. It's just that most people don't, you know, I always ask, my wife gets embarrassed. I always ask questions of the waiter or waitress when we go to a restaurant. If it's a young person, I ask them some random question about, let me ask you something. How much do you think it would take to buy a home? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I think you have to have 20% down. And I'm like, no, I don't think you do. And then my wife gives me the evil eye. But I'm not interested in selling them. I'm more interested in getting that information, and almost invariably they're wrong, you know. So
Are we allowed to post those? Like I messed around on Top of Mind, like you were talking about last time, just to kind of get more familiar with like the flyers that Van Dyke has put together and offered. And there's one about that that's like mortgage misconceptions. You know, you don't have to have 20% down. You can do this, and you know, all that different kind of stuff. Are we allowed to take those from Top of Mind and post them on our Facebook page?
absolutely, that's what they're there for. Yeah.
Okay.
So anything in Top of Mind has already been approved by marketing. You can just use it at will.
Awesome.
Okay. My strong advice is don't ever quote specific interest rates.
Right.
You can say, if you really, you know, you can say things like, you know, interest rates are still low, interest rates are great, things like that. But don't post, because there's all kind of guidelines. You have to put a whole scenario, you have to put the APR, you have to put based on a $200,000 loan, based on 80% loan to value, credit score 740. You have to put all these disclosures on it if you actually quote a rate. So just don't do that. So yes, so speaking of which, so one of the assignments last time was that you look at some of the training video with top of mind. Did anybody do that?
Yeah, I did a couple of them.
And do you
No.
have an idea of at least how the database works?
Yeah, a little bit.
So Daphne, how did you get the training videos? Because what I clicked
They're-
on, like you had to register and it said that they only did like training for them like every Thursday at 3 p.m.
There's some that are recorded on there.
Okay.
I sent you a link. Does
Yeah.
the link that I sent you not work?
No,
It
it did.
For me, it took me to a place where I needed to register for like first time user, or if I wanted to come back for some more in-depth stuff, they did those like every Tuesday. So I just didn't know if there was, I couldn't find any videos.
I went to online resources and I did.
Daphne, will you send all of us the link after today?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nidhi, did you get a chance to look at any of those?
No, I didn't. No.
So please do.
Sure.
And it'll, you know, it'll at least get you a little bit familiar with top of mind. Top of mind is very, very powerful. You don't have to know all the nooks and crannies, but at least know like how to send a broadcast email and how it works your database and that sort of thing, so that you can get some utility out of it. Okay, the 6-minute networking assignment was called Digging Deeper. Did anybody do that?
Yes.
All kind
Okay.
of right now. So by commenting on posts and stuff like that.
So, okay, Lauren, you said you did it. Tell
Yeah,
me what
so
it was about.
it kind of just dug deeper into the fact of with social media, like you should be commenting more thoughtful kind of comments.
Right.
You know, that if all you're doing is liking comments, you're just kind of getting lost in the hustle of social media. So one of mine that I did was one of the realtors that I follow, she was having gallbladder surgery. So instead of just commenting along with the other 100 people who were like, oh my gosh, good luck, like, hope everything goes well, I went ahead and sent her a personal message and told her, you know, that I was thinking about her. And if she needed anything, I'd be happy to, you know, send her DoorDash to her house so she could have some, you know, recovery soup and then she just was really thankful that I reached out that way.
That's very kind. So yeah, so the rule of thumb that I've been told by somebody back when was at least more than 4 words. Make your comment more than 4 words. So yeah, so you know, just the "you go girl" or whatever, you know, or "yay" or whatever, it doesn't really mean as much. So and Nidhi, you said that you made some comments and then a realtor responded.
Yes, they have.
Tell me
Yes.
about it.
So on one of the posts, I actually saw the whole video of the house she put it. Maybe I was sitting idle. I commented on her that, oh, I love the backyard. The front yard is a bit on a smaller size, but I love how the light falls into the rooms and everything. So she messaged me, girl, you are watching all the videos. I'm like, I really loved when you post things, and I love the house that you just posted, and that's how I watched the video. So she said, let's connect later. I was like, sure, whenever you have time, we can connect.
Yeah, that's great. That's exactly how it works. Okay. Who is ready for 10 questions with the grand prize of admiration from everybody? Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Daphne, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So besides a lower rate or payment. Give me 4 reasons why a person may want to refi their house. Go ahead, Lauren.
Drop PMI,
Yes,
combine a first and second,
okay,
debt consolidation,
okay,
and cash out.
that's good. That's good. Nitty, yeah, did she miss anything?
Cash out, PMI, lower term. Did you already said we cannot say that? Lower
What?
the term. Lower
Oh,
the
shorten
term.
the term. No, shorten the term.
Shorten the- Yes.
Okay, yeah, no, that's good. And believe it or not, unfortunately, I've got 2 deals now that are forced by a divorce. So it happens, so we help. Okay. So give me an advantage and a disadvantage to having a HELOC versus doing a cash out refi.
I could give
Oh, do you
you,
know? Okay, do you know what a HELOC is? It's a home
Yeah.
equity line of credit.
Yes, I know that. So in that, we'll only make the payment when we'll take the money out. In cash out refinance, we'll have to make the monthly payment every month. So there is a kind of a credit limit in HELOC.
Right, so you have flexibility where you only pay interest on what you owe. I think that's what you're saying.
Yes,
So
yes,
that's an advantage to a HELOC.
right.
Does anybody know a disadvantage?
I was gonna say a disadvantage is that the rate is variable.
Mhm.
That's exactly right. And where do most people think rates are going in the next few years?
Up.
You got it. Okay. So just to hit one more point, what customer would actually benefit from getting a HELOC? When would that situation really make sense? And that I would advise them to do that.
When your house is paid off
Hmm,
and you want a loan on the house, maybe.
well, you could do a regular mortgage and then the rate would be fixed.
Mm.
So the only time I recommend a HELOC is if they need the money short term. Like they say, I want to build a swimming pool, but I get my year-end bonus and I'll have the money then. And I'm like, look, if you need the money for a year or less, just do the HELOC because it doesn't really have closing costs. And then when you get your bonus or inheritance or whatever happens and you want to pay it off, then that's just easier to do. So a HELOC actually works for a customer that needs the money short term. I would say if I was forced to give a number, less than 2 years. Okay. So we all know the Braves won the World Series. Who knows the last time the Braves won the World Series?
1995. Yay.
Who has a copy of yesterday's yesterday's AJC?
I
Mm-mm.
wanted to get one, but I couldn't.
Yeah, they were all sold out.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah,
I
we were
think,
talking about this in our Pilates. The lady was like, my son got the copy of AGC, and everyone was like, wow, wow.
Yeah.
well, I think they're going to print more. You're going to see an ad. Listen, they're not going to let this opportunity go by. You'll see it advertised, and you'll end up paying $10 for a 50-cent paper. But whatever.
I did buy a t-shirt though.
All right, good for you. So okay. So you've got a customer with a high back ratio. Okay, their debt ratio is a little bit too high. And they have a little bit of money, but they don't have much money. How can you help them? How can we make that deal work?
Okay, can I?
Sure.
They can pay off the debt, the ones that we want them to pay. If they don't have the money, we can add that money in the loan amount.
I'm going to assume this particular customer is already getting maximum financing.
Okay.
But your first half of your sentence was correct. If they have a little bit of money, they can pay that off a credit card or any debt and lower the ratio that way. Sometimes people have a little credit card and some people, they don't, their only debt is their friggin' $80,000 student loan. So, they can't pay that. So give me some more ideas. What could be a possible idea?
What like a gift from somebody to help pay off their debt?
Okay, so yes, but that's kind of just piggybacking on what Nidhi said. Okay, so paying off debt, that's one. Now what's another idea? I mean, they got a 51 back ratio. You're not going to lose that deal, right?
Right.
How are you going to make it work?
You're gonna make them get a cheaper house.
You're going to make them, they already made 9 offers to get this one contract accepted. And you're going to tell them, hey, listen, you just missed it. You need to go out and find another house. You will not make friends like that. Come on, Lauren. Surely when there's a will, there's a way. Come on.
I had a guy who had high stuff, but all we did was make him pay some of his debt down. So I'm trying to think.
Okay, well, this particular customer doesn't have any debt. So now what?
Doesn't have
Maybe ask him to lower the loan amount. Can we lower his loan amount and he can
Okay,
borrow?
so you're saying put more money down.
Yeah.
So that is usually not effective because you got to remember that the money only costs about $4 a thousand. So for $5,000, he's only going to save $20 a month. So chances are that's not going to be enough. So, okay, so I'll give you some more ideas. Number one, if he's getting MI, then he can choose the upfront single premium MI on a conventional loan. So the MI might be $80 a month. And for $1.50, he may be able to just buy it. That's called buying out the MI. So you just buy out the MI, then we can take that off his debt ratio and he may qualify. Does that make sense? Okay. Another way is he may buy down the rate. So maybe with 1 point, he can get a 0.25% lower rate, and that lower rate will have a greater impact than if he put the money down on the house, and he'll have a greater monthly savings, and that may work. Those sound like good ideas?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The other thing is, and I've had them so close that we've had to do this, that you can look at his homeowner's insurance policy, and he may have a $500 deductible and his insurance is $100 a month. And then he may be able to go back and change that to $1,000 deductible or even a $5,000 deductible and lower that premium. And then that would give him a monthly savings.
Mm-hmm.
Those sound like good ideas?
Yes.
Yep.
Trust me, when you have one that's a tiny bit too high, this conversation becomes very, very interesting. Okay. Okay. So we've got Joyce here, and I'm going to ask you a question about Joyce. We're going to talk about her like she's not even in the room. So here's a question, and I'm going to wait till I finish reading it. I have 4 different tasks, and you tell me which one that Joyce is not going to help you with. You ready? And this could possibly be a trick question. 1, rescheduling a closing from morning to afternoon. 2, help you order food for your realtor event. 3, extend your lock by 3 days. Or 4, check to see if the borrower has signed the CD. Go ahead, Nidhi.
Number two, she cannot order the food for the realtors. Can she? No, I don't think so. She can.
Yes, she could.
Okay. Okay.
Lauren,
Lock. She cannot extend the lock.
she cannot extend your lock. Who handles the locks?
Us.
The loan officer. You have to do all of your lock changes, buy ups, buy downs, extensions, renegotiations. If it comes to a lock-in, Jessica's good. If she sees a red flag, she'll alert you, hey, there's something screwy with this lock-in, or it's getting ready to expire, but it is your responsibility to handle your lock-ins. Okay. Next question. What is the top bracket for FICO score on a conventional loan as far as pricing goes? What's the top bracket?
625.
What is it?
Isn't it 625, 625,000?
Okay, so that would be loan amount.
Oh,
I'm
you
ta-
said,
I'm talking about credit score. What is the top bracket? If I were to say, well, this customer is the top bracket, what would you know his credit score would be?
780 and above.
780 and above. Anybody else?
isn't it 680 and above?
680 and above. Okay. Anybody Lauren, you want to make a random guess like the rest of us?
I'm gonna, if it's top bracket, I would say that they're over 800.
800.
Oh,
That would
top-
definitely be, you would definitely be in the top bracket. That's for sure. So
qualifying.
who does not have this cheat sheet taped to their notebook?
I don't have that cheat
You know
sheet.
why I have this? Because I can't remember. So I cheat and put a cheat sheet here like you weren't supposed to do in high school. Well, you can do it now. Okay, the top bracket for credit for pricing is 740. If they have a 740, they get the best pricing. It doesn't matter if they have an 840 or an 8, or it doesn't matter. If you're 740, you get the best pricing. Okay,
Okay.
Okay. Can you resend that cheat sheet?
yes, and you can find it. It's called the Fannie Mae LLPA, Loan Level Price Adjustments. Okay, well, I'm not going to ask the follow-up question because you're not going to know that. But I'll ask anyway. So what about if they need mortgage insurance? What do the mortgage insurance companies use as their top bracket? Okay, it's 760. So for MI, the top bracket's 760, but for regular
Pricing.
loan pricing, it's 740.
Hmm.
Okay. And just as a side note, there is no chart for a 15-year. So how you like that? So on a 15-year, there's no LTV credit score matrix. There's no price adjustments. So if you had loan approval with a 621 or an 800, you would get the same price on a 15-year. Don't ask me why. That's the way Fannie Mae does it. Okay. Last question. What is the date of our branch holiday party?
Wait, do we have a date?
Oh,
12/11.
December.
I think it's
11?
12/11.
I
what?
got sent you out the save the date email, but I haven't set the formal invitations out yet. So they're coming. But I did send you a save the date, so you should know the date.
Wait, did you? Like,
It's
Yeah.
the 11th, right?
It's the
Yes.
11th. It's the
Yeah.
11th. December 11th, Daphne.
okay, I'll be there.
It's at the Burger King on Holcomb Bridge.
That one's good.
Seriously,
Oh man, Steven, I thought it was at the Dairy Queen. Come on.
Yeah. So, all right. Any other questions? Anything anybody wants to add? Okay, well, have a great week and I will send you my notes and my action items. Did y'all
Sure.
like Sveta? She's a nice lady, right?
Yeah,
Okay. All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye, everyone.